Welcome back to This Speech Matters, the show where we dig into speeches that go beyond words, the ones that change how we see the world. I'm Melanie Leyva.
And I'm Kimberlyn Gonzalez. Today, we're talking about Stacey Abrams' TED Talk. 3 questions to ask yourself about everything you do. Honestly, this is one of those speeches that sticks with you because it's not just about politics, it's about ambition, resilience, and how to keep going after setbacks.
Exactly. Think about it. Abrams had just lost the Georgia governor's race. A tough, emotional, and very public loss. Instead of disappearing, she walked onto that TED stage and gave people a framework for moving forward.
And that's why we're unpacking it. Because this speech doesn't just matter to politicians, it matters to anyone who's ever set a big goal and faced disappointment and asked, what now?
So, let's set the stage. It's November 2018. Abrams just ran a historic campaign. She was the first black woman nominated by a major party for governor in U.S. history. But the election, it was messy. Voter roll purges, polling place closures, and long lines.
And people weren't just watching in Georgia. The whole country was tuned in. It felt bigger than one race. It symbolized questions about democracy itself and how Abrams refused to concede, arguing the election was unfairly run.
So when she gave this TED Talk, just weeks later, she could have used that stage to vent or to settle scores. But she didn't. She flipped it. She turned her loss into lessons.
And not just that, she was the surprise closing speaker, and usually TED saves that spot for someone who could send the audience home with the most powerful message.
That choice alone tells you Ted knew her words would matter. And here's her framework. What do I want? Why do I want it? How do I get it?
It's so simple, but that's the beauty. Simple questions with deep answers. Let's talk about who was listening. In the room, you had TED women, leaders, professionals, creators, and people that already cared about growth and leadership.
And then we have the online audience. Millions on YouTube and TED.com. That is a huge leap. From a conference hall in Palm Springs to living rooms and classrooms worldwide.
And she spoke in a way that worked for both the groups. She didn't spend 15 minutes breaking down Georgia politics. She made it universal.
Yeah, and that was very smart. She gave tools anyone could use. Whether you're running for office, applying to grad school, or even figuring out your own personal goals.
And the live reaction proved that it worked. People were clapping at key moments, and at the end, they stood up and they gave her a standing ovation.
And online, the same thing. People called the talk motivational, practical, and relatable. And that's very rare. Usually, a political figure's talk divides people, but Abrams made it inclusive. Now, language. Abrams is sharp with her words. She uses repetition.
Know what I want, and that is justice. I know why I want it because poverty is immoral and it is a stain on our nation. And I know how I'm going to get it by moving forward every single day. Thank you so much.
That rhythm gave the talk structure and flow.
That's an example of an afro, right? When you repeat a phrase at the beginning of a sentence.
Yep, and it works. It makes each lesson feel connected and builds momentum.
She also used imagery, talking about her family, her upbringing, her campaign. Those details made ambition and persistence feel real and not abstract.
And then we have her 3-question framework. Honestly, that is the best rhetorical move. They're simple enough to remember, but deep enough to apply. And I still think about those questions now.
Same. I literally wrote them down in my notes app after watching.
And what I like most is how inclusive her language was. She didn't just make it about herself. She said, here's how you can use this too. That's what made it feel less like a speech from a stage and more like a mentor, advice from a mentor.
Delivery is where she shines. Her tone, confident, clear, but approachable. She commanded the stage without being intimidating.
And her pacing, she slowed down on reflective lines like, what change do I want to see? That pause gave the audience time to think about the question.
What I want, but the question is, what change do I want to see?
But when she told campaign stories, she sped up.
But more importantly, in this process, we turned out 1.2 million African American voters in Georgia. That is more voters than voted on the Democratic side of the ticket in 2014.
And that added energy, and it kept the mix dynamic.
Her body language was also on point. She was standing tall, steady, her hand movements, she was scanning the room. She didn't stare into the camera. She instead focused on the live audience, which made it more personal.
And I can't forget her humor. Those little jokes sprinkled throughout kept the people laughing and engaged. Without them, the talk could have been heavy, but with them, it felt human.
That's risky too. Humor in a serious speech can flop, but she delivered it so smoothly that it boosted her credibility.
Was to look at me again and with a look of disdain say, I told you, this is a private event. You don't belong here. Now, my parents were studying to become United Methodist ministers, but they were not pastors yet. And so they proceeded to engage this gentleman in a very robust discussion of his decision-making skills. My father may have mentioned that he was going to spend eternity in a very fiery place if he didn't find my name on that checklist. And indeed, the man checked the checklist eventually, and he found my name and he let us inside.
So, was it effective? I think so. The 3 questions stuck with me, and I've actually applied them to my own life.
For me, the humor was the most effective part. She connected with people in the room by making them laugh. And that kept them listening even as she talked about tough topics like failure and ambition. And that's the essence of public speaking, right? Not just delivering facts, but connecting with people and giving them something to carry forward.
Exactly. Abrams didn't just talk about resilience, she modeled it. She stood on that stage weeks after a loss and turned it into a tool for everyone else.
And that is why this speech matters. Abrams' speech was authentic, practical, and inspiring all at once.
So, if you haven't already, I recommend you go and watch Stacey Abrams' TED Talk, 3 questions to ask yourself about everything you do.
And while you're watching, try asking those same questions yourself. What do I want? Why do I want it? How do I get it?
That's all for today's episode of This Speech Matters.
I'm Melanie Leiva.
And I'm Kembelyn Gonzalez. Thanks for listening. And remember, the best speeches don't just inspire us, they give us tools to move forward.
Honest about the scope of my ambition. Because it's easy to figure out that once you didn't get what you wanted, that maybe you should have set your sights a little lower. But I'm here to tell you to be aggressive about your ambition. Do not allow setbacks to set you back.